what does 15% more recoverable oil mean? It doesn't mean we're going to go from 1.1 to 3 million barrels a day. No, it means that we're going to, over the next 8 to 10 years, figure out how to extend another 5 to 7 billion barrels out of the Bakken, which means another 20 to 40 years of high-level jobs, activity, economic growth.
Recorded live from the heart of the Bakken, it's the Williston Works Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Williston Works Podcast, brought to you by the City of Williston. I'm your host, Anna Nelson, Executive Director of Williston Economic Development. And whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're a longtime listener, we are here to bring you the conversations with the entrepreneurs, small business owners, and investors shaping Williston's future. Today, we're taking a closer look at an industry that plays a defining role in North Dakota's economy and continues to drive long-term investment in communities like ours here in Williston. So to help tell that story, I'm so pleased to introduce today's guest, Ron Ness. He is the president of the North Dakota Petroleum Council. So Ron, welcome.
Anna, thank you for having me. As you know, I've been a longtime fan of the Williston Works Podcast. I probably did one of the first ones with Sean. I can't even remember how long ago, but I thought it was the coolest thing. So I'm so glad you're still doing it. And I'm thrilled to be your guest today.
Well, excellent. Welcome back then. And yes, we've been so excited to continue this. This is my second season, so I'm excited. This has been a really good time. So before we drill down, and yes, pun intended, into our questions and our podcast, I just kind of want the listeners to get to know a little bit about you. So can you share a little bit about your background and maybe what led you to your role with NDPC?
Sure, Anna. I'm a North Dakota native from Tallinn, North Dakota, which is southeast of Devil's Lake. I went to NDSU, moved out to Bismarck, 1988. So think about what was going on in North Dakota in 1988, and that's a whole nother chapter that we could discuss someday. And certainly somewhere where we don't want to go back to. Just had that discussion with some folks in my conference room. Is that what a difference the Bakken has made and oil and gas has made to all of us in North Dakota. So lived and worked in Bismarck now for almost 38 years. Spent a bunch of time at the state capitol working mostly as the deputy commissioner of labor. I've got a master's in management from the University of Mary. Moved over to the Petroleum Council in 1999. So been here 26 plus years. What an incredible transformation our industry has gone through, certainly over the past 20 years. So just proud to be working with this industry and the great people that work with industry, and spent a lot of time in Williston with a lot of big issues over the past 26 years. So glad to be here today, answering really any question that you or your listeners have. I think it's so important, the dialogue that we've had over time, and we've gotten a lot of great things done working together.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your work in this space. And, you've seen, worked on, facilitated a lot of this work that has happened. And, that's one reason that I really wanted to have you on this podcast, is because, especially with the new people that we have coming to the area, which is excellent, I feel like the energy industry is one that is often either misrepresented or misunderstood. I know when I first moved to Williston, I had no idea the different industries within industry that existed and all of the different work that you can do within the industry. So I think it's fascinating. And so I'm excited to dive into it a little bit for our listeners today. Now, for listeners who may not be familiar, what is the North Dakota Petroleum Council and what role does it play within the state's energy industry?
Well, thanks, Anna. The Petroleum Council is a membership organization. We represent companies and individuals from all sectors of the oil and gas industry, all sectors of really anything associated with an interest in the oil and gas industry. We are the voice of the industry. We have over 550 member companies that participate in our organization as dues-paying members. We provide regulatory engagement. We bring the industry together to tackle issues. We provide the education arm. We provide the state and federal regulatory engagement. We connect, and we are the voice of the industry, and we work on behalf of industry. But we really get out and help industry figure out where we should be going, what we should be doing, how we should be engaging, and then try to bring everybody together and create partnerships and get things done that not only help our industry, but point the state of North Dakota in the right direction.
Yeah, the different events that you guys do too, just really, it brings the industry together, not just here in North Dakota, but, we have stakeholders all across the United States that come to Western North Dakota to talk about these issues and to all be in the same room and talk about what's next. And I've had the privilege of being in some of those rooms and being at some of those events, and it's an eye-opening experience, and to get to see all the players at the table. Um, so the work that you do to bring everybody together, I think, is very important.
Well, thanks. We also have the North Dakota Petroleum Council Foundation, which is really our education arm of the industry. We do the public education. We engage, but we also hold really cool events like the Cook Fest, which is designed to bring industry and the local communities together. We hold a myriad of industry events. The Bakken Classic Fishing Derby, 300 plus fishermen. We raise money for conservation and habitat. Our folks that live and work here are outdoorsmen and women, and just like myself, and we want to support things that our employees and their families like to do. And it's something that I'm passionate about, and our members are passionate about. And of course, we're heavily involved in all of the trade skilled centers across Western North Dakota, energy education, our T4 program, where we're out educating kids about the oil and gas industry and people across the state of North Dakota. So those are the things that we want to engage with and do. And it's so important to educate the people in North Dakota about the oil and gas industry. And of course, we've held well over 400 town halls answering questions of North Dakota. And I think that's been one of our secrets to our success, actually, is get out, educate people, but listen to them, answer their questions, and let's go forward.
Absolutely. It's very much a whole of North Dakota approach. And I do really appreciate that about you, about the foundation. And I'm glad you touched on the education piece, because we will get to that in just a little bit. So I'm excited to talk about that more. But before we do, I'm curious kind of from your perspective, because when we talk about Williston, Williams County, obviously energy is a major part of our story. It's one of our top industries. But from your seat, what you've seen over the years, how have you seen the industry evolve in this region?
Well, I've been going to Williston since 1999, and the changes in the community of Williston are just phenomenal. I remember when Applebee's opened in the early 2000s, and I think I went up there and I met with everybody, ate at Applebee's like 7 out of 9 times, because that was the big thing in Williston. We had a new Applebee's, right? So, but Williston has always been the epicenter of the industry, because it's the service sector. And if you understand the oil and gas industry, whether it's the drilling and exploration side, the production side, the midstream side, those service companies are the fabric of industry. They are what employs the tens of thousands of people in the state of North Dakota. Those services have always primarily been focused out of Williston, because it's in the upper heart of the basin, and now with new technology and the 3-mile laterals, 4-mile laterals, the tremendous economic benefit we've seen in the minerals and the Bakken assets north of Highway 2. And now it's even more in the middle. So Wilson's played the most vital role in this. It's a very, very unique spot in terms of, the exploration side of the industry, which is really what drives the economics of the state of North Dakota, is that drilling new wells, completing new wells. We'll talk about the production of the existing 1.1 or 1.2 million barrels of oil a day and 3.5 BCF a day. But it's that exploration dollar that's the big dollar that drives the hospitality industry and all of those different functions of our state government, so that it helps fund. So Wilson's a critical part of this, and we worked so hard from 2010 through 2000, and really the surge bill in 2015 to get the oil and gas tax revenues back to the communities, build the bypasses, help build the things that that make Williston and Williams County a place where people want to live and work. And still lots of work to do, but what incredible transformation we've seen in Williston itself, and the surrounding communities. Couldn't be more proud of what we've been able to do. But we've allowed it to become a home, right, Anna? You're a
Exactly.
classic example, and there's nothing more fun to talk about people and ask them where they're from, and maybe they're from Tennessee, but now they say, no, I'm from Williston, or I'm from Tioga. Right? That's what we wanted. We always wanted to create that family experience where you come here to work, but then you move your family here, and it took us a long time to get there. Um, Lots of challenges, and I like to say the Bakken was the first shale oil play in the world. We cracked the code, and along with that comes the challenge of being the tip of the spear for every challenge, every problem, everything that went wrong. We probably lived it, but at the end of the day, that's what I love about North Dakota. We come together, we find a solution, we make it work. And really now the rest of the world has benefited from what we've done in North Dakota, in the communities, and certainly technology from an industry standpoint as well.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stats to talk about, or data sets, I should say, to talk about, is the growth within our community. I've seen the documentaries, I've seen the news stories. I didn't live here during those the heart of the boom times, but my husband did. So many people that I've worked with did. So I feel like I've seen it, I've lived it, even though I haven't. But then seeing it today, and like we have nearly even male and female population.
Um,
Our school enrollment has gone up 1,000 students just in this past year. We need housing. We need amenities. So it's just there's been so much growth to the point where these people are making this home. Like they didn't just come here for
Right.
the job and then they're heading back home. Like this is it. Um, I was actually just talking with our local job service representative today, and I said, one of the most encouraging things to me is that, in this recent cycle of a slight slowdown, we've still seen those workers in our local job service office because they want to stay here, because this is home now. And so that's been a huge shift that we've been really excited to see, to share, and to experience.
Be a lot of fun to chart out the births in Williams County. I mean, that really tells the story, isn't it? You've got the families and you've got people in, and I like we said, even, I always watch a couple things when I look at downturns. I watch gas stations to see the amount of activity, the trucks, the activity, but then I reach out to the school superintendents. I want to understand school enrollment, because that will tell you the story. And even through the downturns of 15, 16, COVID, 2021, we're not, if this is a downturn, we better all wake up, because the old timers will tell us what a real downturn is in the 80s and the 70s, right? But school enrollments continue to go up. People finding jobs. We're adding so many additional hospitality opportunities and those different things that, as the community just begins to evolve, you need all those secondary type jobs. And sometimes little slowdowns like this allow us to get better, allows the industry to kind of step back. And one of the amazing things that we were talking about earlier this week was, every time we've had a slowdown in industry, really going back to 08, 09, we've come out with some amazing technology. So the engineers go to work, they got a little more time rather than just pressing. The accountants go to work, we reduce our costs, but we came out with multi-stage fracs that were, completely changed the wells. And in post-COVID, we came out with 3 and 4 mile laterals, completely U-turn wells, box wells, have completely, again, changed the ability to, extend the life of the Bakken, create more opportunities, more wells, expanded out the Bakken region. So pretty exciting stuff. And I suspect even in this downturn, people got a little more time. We'll get better at what we do. We're going to come out of this deal. Hopefully, we'll talk a little bit about Bakken 2.0, but hopefully we're going to come out of here. We're going to come up with some great new ideas.
Yeah, and I mean, we might as well get right into it, right? Since we're on the topic. But I feel like there's the sensational headlines, things like that. But at the end of the day, like, we are still, like you said, what, 1.1 million barrels of oil we're producing a day, like, that's stable. We're still working on those technologies and those techniques. Like you mentioned, the 4 mile laterals. I heard the other day, and maybe this isn't true, but I heard the other day someone might even be working on a longer lateral. And so there's constantly new ways to make the industry more competitive, but also more stable and more efficient. So yeah, if you want to expand on some of those.
Well, as you know, oil and gas in North Dakota drives our state's economy from east to west, north to south. Over 52% of our revenues as a state come just from production taxes. Now, when you look at sales tax, corporate tax, income tax, that number gets pretty large. So this is a North Dakota opportunity. And yes, if you can do a 3 or 4 mile lateral, why wouldn't somebody be thinking about, can I do 5? My guess is we're going to see a 5 mile lateral at some point in the near future. But more importantly, we just simply have to really get to the next level of recovery of oil off that rock. As Kyle Hosfite, the Assistant Secretary of Fossil Energy from Tioga, North Dakota, said the other day at one of our meetings, is that who in the world would buy a pizza, eat 15% of it, and really discard the rest? That's what we're doing in the Bakken and every other shale play in the world. So nobody has figured out how to get that next 15%. What does 15% more recoverable oil mean? It doesn't mean we're going to go from 1.1 to 3 million barrels a day. No, it means that we're going to, over the next 8 to 10 years, figure out how to extend another 5 to 7 billion barrels out of the Bakken, which means another 20 to 40 years of high level jobs, activity, economic growth. Think of what that means to Williams County, to Williston, to the region, to, our children's children, education in North Dakota. In the absence of that, our state will have to start making very tough decisions. We're going to produce oil for a long, long time. It's just that there's an inherent difference in producing oil at 1 million+ barrels a day or 500,000 or less barrels a day. Still going to be lots of jobs, still going to be lots of things no matter what happens. But we want to crack the code in the Bakken. We want another 20 to 40 years. And when you do that, the next great minds of the future are going to come along and say, well, why would we leave 60% of the oil in the ground? That'd be crazy. They're going to figure out how to get the next 15 and the next 15. So now we're talking 60, 70, 80 years. By the way, it's the 75th year of the discovery of oil in North Dakota, April 1, 1951. We can talk about the big celebration, but nobody's more responsible for that than Williams County, North Dakota. And I remember going to the 50th anniversary in Williston 25 years ago. It was a big celebration in Williston. It was a reason to celebrate, and certainly we got a reason to celebrate the 75th year. But I think the next 25 are going to be better than the last 25. The infrastructure's built. Why would we not go back into these wells and figure out how to get more oil out of them?
And when you think about the minds that are behind some of this, you think about the EERC that's part of UND, you think about all of the engineers, all of the chemists, everybody who is, all of the brain power that is behind the technologies that we're working on right now. It's been fascinating to learn about this whole thing from my husband, who works for a chemical company, and he is working on enhanced oil recovery from that aspect. So it's fascinating what you can do once you really start researching and diving in and making those changes and seeing what's next. What is 2.0?
One of the fascinating things about this is that we've had, in obviously the past 18 months, we've had mergers and acquisitions and, one after another. But the reality is banks have done the same, hospitals have done the same, right? As you look across the economy of the world, that's what happens. But you do that in order to get more efficient, and you bring those learnings and you create bigger areas that gives you a bigger footprint, which you can reduce your costs and you get better and better. But the reality that we have these super major oil companies here now that are all in on the Bakken, they could power through lower oil prices. That's going to help us over the next 18 months. We got the companies here that can drill their way through, sub $50 oil if they have to, as they're advancing technology. But they also bring all of their learnings from all of their other basins. And I really believe North Dakota is the one place where you can focus all those things because we've got the research, we've got the state of North Dakota behind us, we've got the people of North Dakota behind us. We just have to do this. There's just no option. It's not going to work. It is going to work because we're all in, and we're going to make it work. And it's so important to us. So I'm excited about that. But that is the beauty of having, large operators and mid-size operators and small operators. But when you start with the super majors, there's always many iterations of that going forward over the next 20, 30, 40 years. And everybody's thinking of a different way of doing this. There are no two companies out there that, it's one thing about the oil and gas industry. It's incredibly, competitive. But I see my neighbor doing this, well, I can do this plus. And so Bakken 2.0, enhanced oil recovery, they mean a little bit something different to every single company out there. At the end of the day, as North Dakotans, we just want more oil out of that rock. We want more jobs, more economic life, more investment. Like I said, the infrastructure's here. Why in heck wouldn't we extend all these opportunities and the great things to come for the state of North Dakota and Williams County and Williston and the area?
Yeah, I often say better together is cheesy, but it's true. So if we can all work together, especially, with guidance and leadership from organizations such as yours, it really does make a difference. And like you said earlier, at the end of the day, like, we're all North Dakotans, we're all in this together.
And it doesn't mean that everything is just great today. I'd much rather have $82 oil. It's tough out there. It's tough on the service sector. The service sector is always the industry, the component of the industry that gets squeezed. You're going to continue to produce your wells. You've made those investments. You're going to continue to run the pipelines, the midstream infrastructure, because you made those investments. That oil is what keeps the lights on and pays the bill. And if you're a public company, you're going to do your best to sustain that production for your shareholders and your investor reports. The private companies are going to flex up and down more because simply they can. They don't want to produce their oil at $52 a barrel. I'd want to produce it at $75 or $80 myself. So they have that flexibility. So we're going to see challenges as we go forward here. I don't think there's a lot of metrics out there in the world other than, who knows what happens to Iran. But even there, when we hit Iran with U.S. bombs last summer, oil prices went up for about 3 days. The reality is right now that we're just flush with oil in the world, led by U.S. oil production. But the investment in oil worldwide is down. And the best thing for low prices typically is low prices, because that means there's less investment. And ultimately that balance of supply and demand is going to not be equal, or we're going to be oversupplied. We're going to be undersupplied. And hopefully this economy in the U.S. Continues to start just rolling and rolling. So I'm bullish on oil. Maybe not so much in the next 12 to 15 months, but long term, I think you'll find that most people are bullish on oil. Oil's not going away. It's going to be here. We got to ride these ups and downs. And as I tell all my service companies, if you're not built to ride the ups and downs of the cyclical nature of a commodity industry like agriculture or energy, probably in the wrong business. You got to plan. You got to plan to get better during the downturns. You got to plan for the downturns. And when you come out of the downturns, this is what I want to look like. This is who we want to be. And I think the same thing's true for Williston, Anna. I think the same thing's true for every Western community. Got a little time on our hands here to reset, redo some planning legislatively to make sure we're where we need to be in terms of, money's back to the communities and doing the right things in terms of education and other things in our communities.
It's a great time for R&D, right?
Great time for R&D.
Yep. A question that I often get, so I'm curious what your answer would be, but I always get the question of, what is the sweet spot for oil prices for producers? Because for a typical person who only really thinks about, the consumer side of it, so they're thinking about their gas prices, uh, and don't really know what the oil prices mean on the other side, how would you kind of explain that to them and kind of what that sweet spot is?
Sure, I think we've identified the sweet spot. Frankly, I'm an oil guy. I do not like $100 oil. $100 oil, number one, it inflates the cost of lifting a barrel of oil, of exploration side of the barrel of oil. Secondly, it leads to really bad, stupid state and federal policy generally. Again, doesn't retract when oil retracts. So I would much rather have oil in that 73 to $85 a barrel. We had a long run here over the last 3 years of oil in that basket. Uh, that generally makes all of the activities in the Williston Basin economic, keeps your gas prices for all of us that drive a lot, keeps the consumer with $3.30 gasoline. If you look at the gallon of gasoline, it's the best buy of anything that we all buy in a commodity basis. I mean, it's what we get out of a gallon of gasoline for what it costs today. It's simply amazing. But boy, people go, don't want to spend $4.70 on a gallon of gas. Bad policies result. So it gets below. I think $67, $66. We've got about a $7 or $8 discount just from transportation to market in the Bakken. That puts us behind the 8 ball. We know that we're a higher cost operating state just because of where we are. We're not South Texas. Access to massive infrastructure, people, resources, all of those different things. So, but oil above $70 is still something that I think is critically important. And obviously $75, that opens up opportunities that we don't otherwise probably see. But one of the things that I do really like what I'm seeing even in this price environment is that companies are charging forward with Bakken 2 Type O pilot projects, investment. We're seeing bullish engagement on those issues. Everybody's going to try to produce the same amount of oil with a little bit of CapEx. So if I could produce today's amount of oil with 3 rigs rather than 4, we're drilling about the same amount of lateral footage a year just because of our drilling's gotten so efficient and so fast. Completion techniques are the same way. So yeah, we're seeing some erosion in this area or that area in terms of just net jobs probably, but we're picking those things up in other areas as well. So I think as a whole, the basin generally balances out. We still have a tremendous need for skilled workers. These workforce training centers, starting with the skill centers at the high schools, I think are so important. That's the one big fear that I hear from our large operators is that I've got to be able to make sure I've got diesel mechanics and technicians and instrumentation people and people to run the techie type jobs. That well site has become so incredibly automated, so much technology on each of these websites now, and I think it's just getting started. The use of AI, what we're going to see going forward in industry, just incredible. Nothing better right now than a completion utilizing AI. It's so consistent. It knows where and how to put your sand and your water and just hit that fracture just right. Another form of increased oil recovery is through things like that. So all those things got to advance, but we're seeing those investments continue, which tells me that we're still bullish on the Bakken, bullish on price long term.
Yeah, and that's encouraging to hear because I feel like there's a lot of people that hear that the prices have dropped or drilling has slowed, and it's just almost a panic moment. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be. Like there's reasons, there's cycles, and there's things like you said that we can do in the meantime to continue that investment to be ready for the future. You mentioned workforce, so just want to jump into that really quickly. So you mentioned a few of the workforce needs, but I do think that's interesting that you're seeing there's still definitely the hands-on labor That will probably never go away, but there are more technology-driven jobs and some of these other career types that are evolving as technologies evolve. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about what workforce needs you're seeing right now.
Well, I continue to think that's a huge opportunity in Williston and Williston State and the Train ND. Uh, Got to continue to work with the operators and the employers and the service sector to figure what's next on the curve. Where are we headed? What type of skills, safety, all of those things, all of those training components, they don't decrease. They increase, I think, as we talk about all of these things. So that's a huge opportunity in Williston to be the provider and of that type of training and those opportunities. It helps your local employers, helps the local employees. We're still seeing through our One Basin, One Way program, we're still training hundreds of new employees every week. Not thousands, hundreds, but that means we still got new people coming into this industry every day. Uh, we think that obviously uh, you've seen some of those, you know, job service isn't overwhelmed with job openings right now, but there are no question there are still openings, and we've seen mergers and acquisitions, and people are kind of in this shuffle, and it takes a while for that stuff to get sorted out. But long term, I think the big opportunities, you're always going to have truck drivers, you're always going to have those things you mentioned, but getting that first level of skill set, whether these kids are coming out of high school or whether they're getting 2 years or 18 months or 6 months, just getting yourself some skill set allows you to move up so much faster. And it shows the employer that you've got the abilities to be trained and retrained and retrained. And, you see the career path of people in this industry. It can go up the ladder extremely fast. If you're a hard worker, you want to go and get your training. Tremendous opportunities are going to exist more and more as we go forward. But those skill sets with those specific technologies are the ones that I think as a state we need to focus on, because that's a risk point for the industry if we can't find the type of technicians that we need to work on the equipment, to keep the equipment running, to deploy the technologies that we're going to be utilizing.
You mentioned the CTE centers as well, and I have loved to see those programs evolve as well, and how they are different in the different regions and the different schools to be able to adapt to what the workforce needs are in that area. So we do have a mechatronics program here. Watford City has an energy program, and hopefully we can have one here in Williston too. And then, yeah, Train ND has a lot of training opportunities. But then even going backwards a little bit further, you mentioned T4. So do you want to touch a little bit on what T4 is and how that gets kind of the younger kids interested in some of these trades?
So we started T4 through our foundation in a partnership with the Bismarck Public Schools and Tools, Torque, Trade, and Technology. It's an energy education program for middle school and high school kids. I think we're holding 9 T4 sessions across various regions statewide this year. Bring these kids in for an entire day, and they aren't coming in listening to speakers. They're not coming in walking around a trade show. They are laying down a well. They're figuring out how to build a road. They're understanding what geology is. They are looking through a stethoscope. They are doing the real things that real jobs provide in North Dakota. And it is so cool to see these kids. And, the thing I like about those type of opportunities, that sometimes it's not the job that you learn to love. It's the job that says, I don't want to do that. That's not for me. Right. But boy, this was kind of interesting. What a tremendous opportunity to it just created awareness amongst these kids as what's out there in their community. So we encourage everybody to support the T4 programs. They are, held in one location. Kids from the entire region come. They're there all day, just getting a chance to explore careers and explore different industries. All those industries are the industries that we have in the state of North Dakota. And I just can't think of anything better. And then you have the skill centers that they can go, oh, I was interested in this. I was interested in electronics. And you look at the instrumentation degree. One of my great hopes, and Brent Sanford is the chancellor or the commissioner of the higher education today, and one of my great hopes is that we can begin to utilize all the opportunities of all the 11 universities in the state of North Dakota and make sure that Williston State can deliver an instrumentation program in a partnership with Bismarck State College. That is where we have to get to. We can do remote learning anywhere across the world, but we've always struggled to do it within our own university system. It's a hurdle we just have to get over. We don't have to recreate these programs in every college and every university. We can do this, and it's a great opportunity going forward. And I think it's so critical to Williston. And I see it. Wahpeton has had that diesel technology program, and you send kids to Wahpeton, and guess what? They get hired over there.
Yep.
We want those kids utilizing the great professors at Wahpeton at Williston State, so we can send them down the road in Williston and keep them, give them those jobs, and send them to work at Williston State with our brands on them, not the brands of the ag tech companies in southeastern North Dakota.
Well, challenge accepted, Ron. We'll get those partners rolling. So I want to jump back really quickly to the economics of the oil and gas industry. So I think it's kind of hard to understand like how all of the tax revenue works and all of that. So how would you break down how the petroleum industry contributes to local communities in terms of jobs, tax revenue, infrastructure, and then the long-term economic stability? Know that it looks a little different, I think,
Sure.
in oil-producing communities and non-oil producing, but there's certainly a statewide benefit in all of this. So can you kind of speak to the economics of it?
Sure. Oil and gas is a $45 billion industry in North Dakota. 23 years ago, we were a $3 billion industry in North Dakota. We today, as I said, the state of North Dakota collects over $8 million a day in oil and gas taxes alone, production taxes alone. The sales tax that the city of Williston and Williams County derive primarily come from the oil and gas industry as a whole, as does the state of North Dakota. We drive oil and gas industry sales tax collections, drive sales tax collections for the state of North Dakota. If you could just put that into your thought for a minute, that's how big that is. But the great part about the system that we have in North Dakota is also a challenging part, but there's a 5% tax on production, generally designed to go back in lieu of property tax for the wells themselves. So the pipelines, the midstream companies, all that pays property tax, but it's designed to go back to the communities where oil and gas activity is taking place. That's the money that's distributed back to the western counties and communities. The extraction tax is the other percentage that funds education, water, and then, of course, we've got the legacy fund, which now is $13 billion legacy fund in the state of North Dakota. That I was part of designing that back in 2012. That is designed to replace oil money when the oil production declines. And to me, that is near and dear to my heart. We cannot be so foolish and greedy that today's generation robs our kids' kids of that opportunity, because things are going to get tough in North Dakota when oil and gas does not generate a fraction of what it generates today. I mean, we are producing so much revenue for the state, and it's filtered back to education, road infrastructure, higher education, K through 12 education, tax relief. We've been able to reduce North Dakota's at virtually of all the states that have an income tax. North Dakota is the lowest, and if you make less than $65,000, you don't pay any income tax in North Dakota. Now we've got property tax relief of up to $1,600 for all of us, our primary homes in the state of North Dakota, but it goes much deeper than that, providing 70% of the K through 12 education. There's an $8 billion trust fund, Common Schools Trust Fund, primarily comes from oil and gas. So the fabric of the revenue stream of North Dakota is so deeply connected to oil and gas right now. Production is going to go down a little bit. activity is going to go down a little bit. This is not a panic moment, but we're going to see less revenue streams. Now, in the last 2 bienniums in North Dakota, we've had some $100 oil. Those buckets fill fast. There's been a lot of money, a lot of money above the curve, I would say. Now we're back at the curve or a little bit below, still producing a lot of oil, still generating a lot of tax revenue. But the expectations are that, we're going to have to, the sky's not falling. We're just going to have to be more prudent in our planning, a little bit more prudent in our expectations of revenue generation out of the state of North Dakota. Legislators are going to have a little more difficult or maybe a little easier job if there's not as much money there. That's a great debate, by the way. Communities like Williston and Williams County probably going to see a little less revenue streams possibly, but it's all still happening at a very high level. There's plenty of revenues coming in to, I don't see a catastrophic drop or decline, but we do have to prepare for downturns. So we're a cyclical industry. We are going to go through these. They're not peaks and valleys. They're little hills and bumps and, curves in the road. And that's where I see where we're at right now.
So for the legacy fund, it's almost like a 401k, right? Like you're building up for the future. You don't want to touch it until you have to.
You look at Norway, you look at Alaska, they destroyed their legacy fund by using it as a political tool to give money back to their citizens instead of growing their economy elsewhere. But, we have $13 billion today. It's going to generate about $800 million to $1 billion of interest. That interest is what's being utilized to pay for property tax relief. That interest can be used for things. But the corpus of that legacy fund, I hope, grows to $30 to $50 million because we're going to need it to fund education and infrastructure and those things. Hopefully not in my work career, but maybe not even hopefully not in my lifetime, but certainly in my kids and their kids. We're going to need to supplement that out of the corpus and off those earnings. Otherwise, we have to raise taxes. And raising taxes and raising costs on business leads to two things. Those companies exit North Dakota because it gets really expensive here really fast. That means less jobs, less activity, fewer babies in Williams County, closing schools rather than building schools. That's not where we want to go. And legislatively, this is what I see the focus of North Dakota legislators should always be. Specific issues come and go here and there. Everybody's got opinions on them. But at the end of the day, their job is to be the builders of North Dakota, find the right policies that grow investment, that grow our economy, that allow us to fund education, to fund government services, provide reasonable, low-cost living for our citizens, i.e., lower taxes as possible, and keep government out of the way and let us all go to work.
There's a reason that North Dakota is as business friendly as it is and has the good cost of living that it does. It's because there have been these guardrails and these policies and these thinkers at the table to be able to have the foresight to put us in this good position. So hopefully we can continue that.
Hasn't always been that way, Anna. That came through really hard, many hard legislative sessions to get this business climate back to one in which people wanted to invest here and wanted to come here, wanted to build their opportunities here and their businesses here. Somebody can start a small business here and has a pathway to success. So, and it can revert back in a hurry if we don't be cognizant of that.
So how do local communities, industry leaders, policymakers, from your perspective, how do we all work together to keep those guardrails in place, to keep us on the right track, to keep us a place where people want to come and invest and stay and grow?
Well, there's a number of things, and you've got a message to your community leaders and your political leaders, state legislators, statewide elected officials, the governor, and all of those things that how important these things are to Williston and Williams County. Support for the oil and gas industry. We cannot see that erode. Look what's happened in Colorado, like New Mexico. Despite their great oil production, it's a nightmare to try and do business in the oil and gas industry down there. They just have incredible geology right now, but we've seen this happen across states that historically have been very business friendly. And so we got to work together through your chamber, through organizations like the Petroleum Council, through the economic development message, through your city leaders. You know how many times we've all stood at the podium together. This is a North Dakota issue. We have to be focused, engaged. We have to understand and support candidates who support the big picture of North Dakota and the growing North Dakota economy, and in particularly in Williston and Williams counties cases that, oil and gas is supported. 84% of the people in North Dakota are strong supporters of oil and gas. We certainly hope that, we have that support in Williston and Williams County.
Absolutely. Again, better together, right?
Better together, 100%.
The more we can have consistent messaging and stand together. Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one piece. So we say oil and gas. I feel like we focused a lot on oil, but what about the gas part of that? It feels like that is another tremendous opportunity that it feels like is getting capitalized on a little bit more.
Well, I have felt for a long, long time that natural gas was going to be our next economy. And every time we started getting a little bit close, we hit a downturn in the U.S. economy. We hit COVID. We hit uncertainty about, gas and how it's going to be utilized. I think we're past that now. I think we're on the cusp of just incredible opportunity. And there's a lot of discussion going on across the state, but you don't need to look any further than Williams County and what Basin Electric has invested into gas-fired electricity power generation in Williams County. And that's not being done for AI. That's being done to really fuel and energize Western North Dakota and the growth that we've seen in Western North Dakota. AI is a tremendous opportunity. I think it's game-changing from the standpoint of taking our rich Bakken natural gas that's somewhat been a waste commodity for 20-plus years to making it now a valued commodity that we're using at home and to drive the diversification of our economy. The Bakkenese pipelines are a tremendous opportunity for the state of North Dakota. It's a tremendous opportunity for industry to ensure that we've got a home for our gas so we can continue to produce oil, because what would you rather have, an MCF of gas at $2.80 or a barrel of oil at $67 a barrel? We want the oil. It comes with gas. Good for us if we got a market for it, then we can sell it and utilize it. That's a tremendous opportunity. So we've seen a lot of projects being discussed. This is our time. This is our time in North Dakota to grow our economy utilizing our own natural resources. I think it's going to be great for our coal industry. I think we're all working together here. Agriculture and energy. Yesterday I had some of the largest agricultural sector developers in here. They're bully on enhanced oil recovery. They're bully on Bakken gas. We've got things that we're going to see great things going forward on. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I think we've seen good things happen that maybe haven't risen to the level of Yahoo that we probably should have seen. But those two Basin Electric projects are just fantastic in Williams County. Incredible, actually.
Yeah, to have the biggest generation station in their fleet
right
here in our county and utilizing the natural gas, like it's just there's so many wins wrapped up in that one project for the state, but for the region as well.
One of the things that has made all this work is the Williston Basin Petroleum Conference. That conference historically has been the event that brings the world to North Dakota, but it really uplifts us for the next 18 to 24 months on where we're going as industry. May 19th to 21st in Bismarck, North Dakota, we're going to have the Williston Basin Petroleum Conference here. We're going to be celebrating the 75 years of oil in North Dakota. We're going to celebrate the path towards Bakken 2.0. We're also going to celebrate America 250, energy dominance, three different days that you're not going to want to miss any of them. They're going to be completely unique, completely different. We have got the CEOs from all the big players in the Bakken coming. We've got the national leaders on energy coming. We've got, the best of the best in the industry, technicians. We got a trade show that is so oversold. I don't know what we're going to do with people. We're expecting thousands of attendees. And you don't need to be in the oil and gas. This is not an oil and gas conference. This is a North Dakota Future Conference. We're going to talk about everything you and I have talked about today, Anna. And this is the place to be. It's the biggest oil show north of Houston, and it is an event, and one that I want and encourage North Dakotans to come to this, because it's that big of a deal, and it's held right here. Very few places you'll ever see the lineup of speakers that we've got. And the things that are going on, and it's going to be a pretty good party. Frankly, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I would support everything you just said. I had the privilege of going to the last one that was held in Bismarck a couple of years ago, and I mean, it really was mind blowing. The level of companies in attendance, their leadership in attendance, the industry's leadership in attendance, but then just the people. I mean, I'm not in the oil and gas industry. I support it, but I'm not in it. But I got to learn all of these things that I didn't know, but should know. So it was a tremendous learning experience, a tremendous networking experience. And yeah, you guys have fun too. So
yeah, it's good. It's good. There's something for everyone, I think, is what you're saying. I mean, it really, truly is. So I encourage bankers. I encourage everybody with an interest in this industry. This is where you're going to see the path forward for the next 2 years, and hopefully 15 years and 40 years.
Yep. And then some, right?
And then some. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for explaining some things for us today, shedding some light on where the industry is at today, where we're headed. I think that's very important. And yeah, for all of our listeners, head out to Bismarck in May and learn even more, shake some hands, and it'll be a good time. So
WBPC 2026, you can Google it, you can find it, get your hotel rooms now. Anna, you know that anything that I can do or the Petroleum Council can do to help Williston and Williams County, this is the epicenter of the industry. And we all need to work together. And I love your "Better Together" mantra. And so keep us informed if we're missing the boat somewhere, or I need to be somewhere. I'm gonna count on you to tell me where I need to be.
Absolutely, I'll do what I can. And for everybody who wants to learn more about the Petroleum Council, contact you. Where do they go? How do they learn more?
North Dakota Petroleum Council. On Google us, you'll find us. We got other great programs through our foundation as well. So North Dakota Petroleum Foundation, lots of Cookfest, Powers Lake, North Dakota. I think it's about July 17th. It's that middle Thursday in July. Powers Lake is going to be it's a great place to have it. It's right in the middle of all of this new activity. The 4 mile laterals. That area has just taken off. And I'm excited about us going to Powers Lake in July.
Good. That's exciting. I'll have to put it on my calendar too. All right. Thanks so much, Ron. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening to today's episode of the Williston Works Podcast, brought to you by the City of Williston. Please like and subscribe for more interviews and content. And in the meantime, you can learn more about Williston Economic Development by visiting willistondevelopment.com. We'll see you next time on the Williston Works Podcast.